about to do a live session?
I'm doing it right now.
Okay, I'll put my headphones on.
Oh, you're far too kind. Losing my windows. There we go. Don't shut up. Kara, be quiet. You don't even like that band, and you're singing that shit.
Oh, trust me, I know.
You don't even like that band, and you're doing that shit.
But when I have a chance to aggravate you, I can.
You know what? That's really, Kira, that's really fucking sad.
What is?
It's really, it's just really sad. Are we not sending anything to?
Substack is active.
Oh, okay. I just don't. My page. Oh, there we go. It hasn't refreshed yet. Okay. I'm sorry to everybody that's in the channel because I sound sick. It's because I legitimately am sick. I'm still recovering from convention woes, but I was just going to go live to bitch about the convention. Jeannie, we can talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about. I'm gonna bitch about Las Vegas because that's where I was all last week, where I was not writing because I was in Vegas, and Vegas sucks a whole bunch. Yeah, Vegas is a piece of shit. There's too much shit going on in Vegas. That I just, fuck it. So anyway, yeah, basically I went to Vegas for reInvent, which is the big AWS conference. And so Kira and I went to Vegas, and we flew in on Sunday, and we stayed at the MGM Grand, which is a really nice fucking hotel, although Kira says that the Grand is a piece of shit. And so the first day of the conference, there were, I shit you not, 75,000 people there. I mean, it was just a sea of fucking people. And I had forgotten just how many people that actually is. And how much of a social drain being around that many people is.
I've never been around that many people. But it's a social drain being around fewer than that, so I can only imagine.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, my senior VP and I fucking went to the hall to, like, where all the people were. And, when I got my cool AWS reInvent hoodie, and I got a water bottle, and I got some other swag or whatever. But I didn't even really get, like, a huge amount of swag or whatever. Like the one day that all the vendors were giving swag away, I didn't go into the convention hall to even go in there or whatever, because no, fuck that. That's crazy. I'm not going to do that. And so Jeannie, the AWS reInvent convention is Amazon Web Services cloud engineering convention, where they announce a whole shit ton of services, for their cloud product, AWS, Amazon Web Services. And then it's basically just like 5 hotels that have 75,000 DevOps, cloud ops, developer, and software engineers walking around and doing shit. And so I got to meet up with a bunch of people I hadn't seen in a long time. Because a long time ago, I was an Amazon technical account manager. I did that for 2 years, early on in my career, and so, you know, that was a really different time for me. That was a really just a very different time of my life. Yeah, right. Well, no, what happened was Aubrey, my partner, got the cold and then she gave it to me. So I don't blame
Sharing is caring.
You know, because that's her fucking fault, right? No. Yeah, okay, she's giving me the finger. Hey, don't give me the finger unless you're going to use the finger. See, now you're just now you're just turning me on. Oh God, my girl parts are getting flushed now. So anyway, yeah, the conference itself is decidedly just a flood of fucking people. But so there were some, you know, my friend Dimitri was there, and my friend Mark was there, and we caught up, and you know, we don't see each other that often. Dimitri is a CEO, and he's on numerous boards now, and my friend Mark is a senior VP of threat intelligence for one of the big hotel companies. And so, you know, that was fun. And there were some releases, you know, from an engineering perspective, because I'm one of those software developer cloud opsy people or whatever. And so that was kind of cool. But for the rest of the time, if I wasn't gambling, which by the way, Aubrey, Kira and I are both slot machine vultures. We know like what a slot machine that's about to burst looks like, and so we just walk around the casino vulturing each of the machines. Excuse me. And I mean, we walked away with like $500. So for having put in, you know, 100 or so. So that was brilliant or whatever. But then on Wednesday was when the shit hit the fan.
Oh.
Yeah, and here's what the shit hitting the fan means. AWS reInvent was slowly ending, and so what happened was that there was another convention that was coming in. Here, let me update this. There was another convention that was coming in, and the other convention that was coming in was a rodeo convention. So now I'm a trans woman, and I'm at a geek conference, and then, you know, now there's a shit ton of rodeo people. And so, like, everybody's wearing the big fucking 10-gallon hat with the, you know, like, I've never seen that many people wearing that kind of hat before. It's fucking hysterical to me. And so Wednesday night or Wednesday afternoon, I went to the conference. I got on the elevator, And on the elevator, there was a clear family. Like it was a guy, his wife, one of his kids, a bellhop that was helping them with their luggage, and me, and like one or two other people. And I'll be aware, AW's reInvent attracts Indian people. People from India fly into Vegas to go to this conference because that's a big fucking deal. And so, so there's like two Indian guys on the elevator. We're standing on the elevator, and the guy tells the bellhop, literally tells the bellhop, I want a floor with no faggots, sissies, or Muslim terrorists. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? So I get back to the room, and I'm telling Kira, I'm like, okay. Because like that Wednesday morning, we were down in the lobby of the Grand where the Grand Lion had this big fucking cowboy hat on it. And she was like, why are they doing that? Well, it's a rodeo convention. AWS reinvent backs into a rodeo convention at MGM Grand or whatever. So what a crock of fucking shit. So, right. That all happened. So I'm just like, fuck this. So I get to the good part of the story after I talk about the bad part. But so then by Wednesday, Kira was full blown sick, and she was sleeping through the days, and I was starting to get sick. And so, and then walking around the casino were all these cowboy fuckers. Oh, by the way, I must have heard the Sexy Tractor song. There's a country song where the lyric is like, my girl thinks my tractor is sexy. I heard that fucking song 85 fucking times.
That's a thing?
Oh, yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, it's a Kenny Chesney song.
Can't say that I'm a fan.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm definitely not a Kenny Chesney fan. Fuck that. But yeah, so and so it's just wall to wall country music. And by the way, in all of the clubs, they're playing country music. I'm like, oh my God, this is disgusting. I can't listen to this. I can't stand it. So now let's back up a little bit. So on Tuesday night, my CIO decided he wasn't going to come to the conference. So my company had an extra seat. So I convinced my senior VP to let Kira, Aubrey, come with me to dinner. And so the first night we went to this place called STK Steakhouse. Here, I'm not going to play it, but I'll look it up on YouTube. Yeah, here you go. Here it is. Here's the song. And the name of the song is quite literally, She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy.
There's so much wrong with that.
Right. She thinks my tractor is sexy. I don't know what to do with that. I can't believe I'm actually looking up the lyrics for this shit so that I can quote it correctly. Here's the chorus. This happens repeatedly. She thinks my tractor's sexy. It really turns her on. She's always staring at me while I'm chugging along. She likes the way it's pulling while we're tilling up her land. She's even crazy about my farmer's tan. She's the only one who really understands what gets me. She thinks my tractor's sexy. That's the lyric in the song. And so I heard this thing way too many fucking times.
That's enough to give somebody indigestion.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't do that. I just can't do that. I can't do it. I mean, nobody in their right mind, I think, would listen to that, or if they would, I don't know. But so anyway, so we're at STK Steakhouse with the vendor, and in this case, the vendor is an Amazon partner, because I don't work for a partner anymore. I work for an independent company, and the partner wants my company's money, and so so holy fuck. So we get to the steakhouse, we sit down with the vendor, and the vendor looks at, well, my VP says, Wendy, do you know how to order wine? And I said, yeah, I can look at a menu and I can pick out good wine. And so the vendor looks at me and says, Wendy, okay, well, here's the wine menu. You pick the 2 or 3 bottles of wine that you think we would enjoy. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm just going to tell you that if I do this, it's not going to be cheap. I mean, you're looking at a couple of $100 a bottle if you let me order off the menu. And so, I said, sure, fine. Okay, I'll look at the menu. And so they had Tignanello in the 2020, which is a super Tuscan. So it's a Sangiovese blend red wine. And it was the 2020 bottle. I halfway remember the 2020 bottle went for like $700 or $800 a bottle. But I said, that Super Tuscan's the best Tuscan on the menu. And then as a variable, I picked the Russian River Valley selection, which is called, the name of that winery is called Kistler, in the 2019. So we drank 6 bottles of the Tignanello in the 2020. And we drank 4 bottles of the Kistler Russian River Valley. Well, when I got back to the room, I went and looked just to see. 2020 TIG goes for between $1,300 and $1,600 a bottle.
Holy shit.
And I personally drank easily 1 bottle of that wine, maybe a bottle and a half, between the 12 of us at the table. The Kistler, however, goes for between $1,200 and $1,300 a bottle. And we drank 4 of those. So that was perhaps not chosen wisely. But, I told my VP, I'm like, I'm sorry, I picked the best wine on the menu. He's like, I literally don't care, because they're trying to get our money. And so, they deserve to cough up some extra funding or whatever. And so then I was like, well, shit. Okay. But that's what happened. Now, that said or whatever, I ordered the filet, the 10-ounce filet, and it was good. And that's not normally a cut that I would eat. And I'm trying to remember, Kira, what did you eat the first night?
The ribeye.
Right, she had the ribeye, and it was really good too. Not like earth-shatteringly good, but it was good enough. And so, okay, that was great. Well, that restaurant is in the Cosmopolitan. which, in my honest opinion, is the most over-the-top hotel in Vegas. I think it's more over-the-top than the Bellagio is. I mean, just out in how outrageous the inside of that hotel is. So, excuse me. So, on Wednesday night, we go to dinner at Super Frico, which is also in the Cosmo. Now, that's the name of the restaurant, and let me get that out for everybody so that you're sort of aware. This is the name of the restaurant. You can look this shit up. That's the name of the restaurant, and so wild shit happens at the Super Frico. So now that's an AWS vendor. So the vendor for that dinner was Amazon, and I made sure not to go like crazy on the wine. The bottles of wine that we drank for that were 2x2, and they were like $100 bottles. And I ordered the filet for that meal. No, I ordered the chicken parm for that meal too. But here's the thing. Super Frico is an experience restaurant. There's shit that happens in the restaurant while you're commiserating over eating food and shit. So when you go in through the main doors of Super Frico at the Cosmopolitan in Vegas, you go into this room, and it's a circular room, and it has like 10 sets of double doors all side to side. And they pick one of the double doors, you walk through it, and that's one section of the restaurant. By the way, the restaurant has all these like secret passages and walls and shit. So if you're not paying attention, just somebody will suddenly appear next to you. So, this is like Vegas over the top shit. And so we go and we sit down, we order a bunch of food, and then we're waiting. So the first thing that happens is there's this girl who walks up in the most direct Russian accent and says, "I have this dish for your table I think you should like." And she pulls the dome off the top of the plate that's on her hand, and it's a dead fish. And so then the dead fish starts flapping and shit. It's obviously fake, but it meant to be funny. And so then she whisked away, and I was like, okay, this is going to be, I maybe needed to be high as fuck before we came to this restaurant, because that's where we are. And so we ordered off the menu. I ordered the filet for that meal, and she ordered the
You got the chicken parm.
no, I had the chicken parm, that's right, and she had the rib cap, which was very GERD inspiring later. But anyway, right. So we're eating food and drinking, and there's talking, and then suddenly, Kira, who is sitting to the right of me, there's a spaceman in a space helmet standing there, and the spaceman is dancing around and pointing at her and shit. And I'm like, "Oh, Jeannie, good night. Have a good night." Yeah, so I was like, "What the fuck is this?" That I'll tell you what this is. This is Vegas. This is just how Vegas is. People in Vegas do this kind of thing, and so really crazy and wild and shit. And so then the girl walks over to our table with this cart where she literally hand stretches out mozzarella cheese, and in like the weirdest way possible that you can imagine. I'm gonna like flash a photo on the screen here to give everybody an idea of what this looks like. That's her stretching out the mozzarella cheese.
It looks like toffee.
Yeah, right. It looks like that's mozzarella cheese. And so she's like, and I mean, it looks, I'm just going to say this, it looks weirdly sexual to me. It just, the way she's doing it, it looks sexual. And so, well, fuck. This is getting crazier. No, it hadn't hit quite crazy yet because after she, stretched out the cheese or whatever, she put it on a plate with some ham and some other shit, and you could eat, it was an appetizer or whatever. But then this girl in a furry outfit.
Big one.
No. The white furry thing.
Oh, the alien.
Yeah, the white furry alien with 8 eyes on the head starts dancing around and then humping on random members in the bar. And so I was like, this is a bad acid trip. That's what this shit is. Yeah. You need to come to this restaurant either highly marijuana influenced or highly hallucinatorily influenced for it to be any fun. Because I literally was looking at it and thinking, holy fuck, what weird parallel universe did I walk into when I walked into this restaurant? Well, then the penguin girl showed up. So the penguin girl starts dancing around the inside of the bar, and she gets up onto this higher raised area level where all of her clothes come off, but her nipple tassels, her underwear, and a very stringy looking bodice that is not covering her breasts. And now she's tassel swinging. And I'm just like, and so I look at my VP and he's like, how the fuck did I don't know. You know what? I don't know how we got here. We're here. I don't know how the fuck we got here. I don't want to know. I really don't want to know. Well, so then, like the end of the dinner comes, and before we get to the end of the dinner, this girl and other guy come out, and they start doing a salsa tango on the dance floor, which ends with her doing a full flat split with one hand on his head upside down. So she's got one hand like on the top of his head, and she's completely upside down, and she's doing a parallel flat split. And at that point, I was like, okay, I've seen it all. I mean, but as we were leaving, the spaceman came back out and started dancing around Kira and pointing at her and shit. Who, by the way, I'm pretty sure the spaceman was actually probably a girl. But I don't want to assume that because, the spaceman was in a spaceman's astronaut outfit with the helmet, and the helmet was completely opaque, so you couldn't see their face or whatever. So if you go to Vegas and you want to spend an exorbitant amount of money and you want to have a profoundly bizarre experience, go to Super Frico. Now, I should point out that when we went to leave the restaurant, there was a line out the door to get back into the restaurant because on top of the restaurant being there, there's also a speakeasy there that everyone wants to go to. Understanding what a speakeasy is, of course. But so that was pretty much my Vegas experience summed up. Other than getting sick. Oh, and by the way, my flight from Vegas back to Atlanta, flew out at 7 o'clock this morning. So I had to get up at 4 a.m. to get everything together, Uber over to the airport, and then, right. So what a wild and just fucked up, crazy ass time that was.
So you're sick, you're jet lagged, you're probably exhausted, but yet here you are.
Yeah, because I wanted to share this story with everybody. Now we can talk about politics and shit. Which, by the way, I have some really interesting politics shit to talk about. So I got a hold of the National Security Breakdown document that the Trump administration has since released. I'm going to release an article about it tomorrow. It's a whitehouse.gov PDF, but I've digested the major body of it. It's about 49 pages long. It has a bunch of fucked up language, but here's what we're talking about. So, regarding Europe, the future of U.S.-European relations is going to be completely null. So, according to the document, the Trump administration wants Europe to remain European. And so they don't want Europeans coming to the U.S. to erase American civilization. And so their migration policies are about transforming the European continent into an existential threat. And so they even say in the document, should present trends continue, Europe will be completely unrecognizable in 20 years or less. And they express concern about NATO members will become majority non-European and non-white in 20 years. And so that makes the European opinion in the new U.S. security policy wildly racist and wildly xenophobic. But here's where it gets like even more fucked up. So it's very neocon from this point forward. So on Africa, the African directive from the U.S. perspective is we will harness Africans' abundant natural resources and latent economic potential. The focus almost being entirely on critical mineral development and energy sector for the profits of U.S. businesses only. Paternalistic framing of the document suggests that it will transition African countries from the aid paradigm to the investment paradigm. So basically what we'll do is we'll enslave Africa, steal all of its resources, and use African resources for our own benefit. Now, there's like 5 pages in the document that literally talks about how Africa is too black and it needs to be less that way, which is really fucked up. Like, just literally really fucked up. Trump has now initiated what he calls the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, which is explicitly neoconservative and neocolonial. So basically, the way Trump sees it, the entire Western Hemisphere is the United States by right. the sole source contracts for companies will come from the Western Hemisphere, because the Western Hemisphere is the U.S., and that's it. So in Trump's mind, by the end of his term, we'll have conquered all of South America and most of Central America, and it'll all just be the United States. And so it is the intent of this policy to push out foreign companies that build infrastructure in that region, deny non-hemispheric competitors, so competitors from the Eastern hemisphere, into those spaces, to position forces or other threatening capabilities, or to our own control strategically of vital assets. Military deployments will use lethal force where necessary to maintain the Western Hemisphere, which will be the new U.S. Countries should see the U.S. as their partner of first choice, and we will, through various means, discourage them into collaborating with other countries. And then, which means the entire framing of the Western Hemisphere concept treats sovereign nations as vassal states that will become part of the larger U.S. collective. So, yeah, it's getting fucked up now. So, there's a soft power framing that comes from this. So, unapologetic about our country's past and present, while respectful of other countries, different religious cultures and governing systems, they will still just become American. There's a clear hierarchy drawn out in the document that democratic allies should uphold only American shared norms, and authoritarian partners we just accept as they are and nothing else. So in the Middle East, drop America's misguided experiment with hectoring these nations into abandoning their traditions and historic forms of government. So basically, convert the Middle East out of Islam and Hindu and make them all Christian. And so what that means is democracy promotion for white European allies, but authoritarianism is fine for Arabs as long as they're compliant. Now, this is where it gets a little fucked up. Trust me, the write-up for tomorrow, I'll give you the whole document, but my summary of the document is going to be enough, and you're going to hate it. It's a piece of shit. So the Trump administration sees migration as invasion. So throughout the document, they assert border security as the primary element of national security. We must protect our country from invasion. And anybody that comes into the country, legally or illegally, are individuals who are invading our country. So they basically equate all migrants to drugs, terrorism, and espionage. Mass migration has strained domestic resources, increased violence and other crime, and weakened social cohesion. And that must stop. So America is going to become purely white. Now, we've already seen this with the Ohio congressperson that's trying to ban dual citizenship and invalidate anybody with dual citizenship. This is an attempt to homogenize the United States back into purely a white nation. Here's the thing about that. If they do that, I don't think they realize that threatens Melania Trump and Barron Trump at the same time. But maybe they're like, golden children and they won't be touched. And the rules don't apply to them because they're part of the upper echelon or whatever. But the document demands Europe maintain its Western identity and civilization self-confidence while warning about demographic change, but simultaneously insists other regions accept U.S. economic domination military presence and resource extraction as purely natural and of the normal course of things. So, in that worldview, white European demographic change equals civilization catastrophe to the Trump administration. American economic and military domination of non-white regions, that's just the natural order, and it should be totally allowed. African and Latin American resources, American strategic assets to be jointly developed, which is basically just bullshit words for extracted and stolen. And then sovereignty is sacred for the U.S., but it's negotiable for anybody else. So the entire document just essentially makes, it fucking legal to be a racist at the national level. So that's tomorrow's geopolitical, and I'll have it out. I'll get it done tonight, and then I'll schedule it for the morning, and it'll be crazy and fucked up. And that's all I have. So if anybody has any questions, great. If not, I'm going to probably bring it to a close tonight because I feel really, really yucked, and I have to crash headfirst into bed so that I can recover from this nightmare that I've been through this week. Going once, going twice.
I've got nothing.
Yeah, I know. I don't either. So, from a publication perspective, I'm back on my schedule. So we'll have alternating days. So I'm going to do the queer space stories on the even days of the week, and then history lessons on the odd days of the week, or some variable rotation thereof. And then I'm probably going to start limiting lives to 3 or 4 a week, just so that we'll still do the trauma lives at 1 o'clock on Monday and Thursday. And then we'll probably just do a gathering live. Plus, I mean, if you want just socialization chat or whatever, I'll be streaming on other platforms like Twitch or whatever for gaming shit, because that's what I do to relax. Basically, I get online and I beat the shit out of Sarah at Magic the Gathering.
It's true.
Or she beats the shit out of me and then it's funny or something. But anyway, all right, well, cool. Well, I thank you everybody that came by, listened to my sick ass talk for 45 minutes. I really appreciate it. And it's the weekend, so probably won't see me live again until Sunday, just the way it is. But I will update the schedule on the newsletter. And then, going into Sunday, I'll be back to a regular release. It's just like for the last 2 weeks, I've either been in LA at home for 2 days or in Vegas. So I have not been consistent. Not been consistent at all. Okay. Sarah, thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone else, have fun.